Hello, Black people of America. Um, so, as we all know, Christopher Columbus Day is coming up on Monday. So, this is a good time for us to think about the fact that white supremacy and white supremacists are teaching our children. They are teaching our children that these presidents and founding fathers are heroes. So I took an opportunity to look up some facts about these terrorists, as far as I'm concerned. Um, if we're going to consider people like Christopher Columbus to be heroes, then um, Osama bin Laden is a hero. He did less damage than Christopher Columbus. So, some of the main things that I found out, a lot of stuff I already knew, but I just wanted to kind of take a step back and um, refresh myself on some of the things. I'm going to start with Thomas Jefferson because he's definitely taught in the history books, in the history that is taught to our children, to be one of the great founding fathers of America. So Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. He victimized over 600 black people, enslaving them, tormenting them. The things that were done to these people is unimaginable. It would give you nightmares if you actually dug in and really got to figure out, got to know what these monsters, these terrorist white supremacists were doing. Then we have George Washington, who, as we know, is considered a hero, a founding father, someone to be looked up to, someone to admire. George Washington owned 318 slaves, 318 black people, in which he terrorized, in which he leased out. He leased these people out to his neighbors to use them, leasing them out like you would let your neighbor borrow a cup of sugar. This is how much the lives of these black people meant to these white supremacists, these terrorists. Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin terrorized hundreds of black people. Benjamin Franklin advertised in his own newspaper and selling black people. Advertised to sell black people like they were animals. We really need to think about the damage that white supremacy is to black people. We are living in a continuous war zone. We are constantly fighting terrorism in our own country. And I say this is our country because we built it. These white supremacists are living on the backs of our ancestors. The reason why these presidents can sit in a White House is because our ancestors built that White House. Let's not forget our savior, our supposed savior, Abraham Lincoln. We're taught that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, that he was so against the brutality of slavery that he just couldn't handle it. So he stepped in as our savior. We should admire and respect him. Abraham Lincoln stated in his Emancipation Proclamation that he was not in favor of bringing social and political equality to Black people. He never saw Black people as an equal, not even remotely an equal. This savior of ours believed that Black people should not have the right to vote. He then goes on to say that majority of the Black people, these now free slaves, should be kicked out of the country. Kicked out of the very country that they died to build. This is someone that we're supposed to look up to, that our children are taught is our hero, someone to celebrate, someone that we owe our freedom to. He wanted us kicked out of the very own country that our ancestors lost their lives to build. He called it colonization of the land. Wanted to make sure that the land stayed white. We were also taught that Abraham Lincoln never owned any slaves, even though it was found out by documentation years ago, that he indeed did have slaves. And I just think, in the first place, we would have to be insane to believe that a higher class white man did not own any slaves. That's a joke. We need to stop teaching our kids that. We need to stop allowing these white supremacists to shove their agenda down our kids' throats. We need to stop this global terrorism. There's a statement that I ran across that said, and I'll quote it, "African Americans are faithful slaves. Faithful slaves." That is what the Democratic Party lives on. They know that. Why are we continuously being faithful slaves to these white supremacists that have no value for our lives? These white supremacists that are killing us on the streets. These white supremacists that are mass incarcerating our black men, that are referring to them as super predators. Do we really think that by voting for Hillary Clinton is going to benefit us? This white supremacist terrorist is going to do anything to support our agenda. White supremacists will do whatever it takes to keep us believing that they are our savior. They do it with Lincoln, and they do it by shoving these lies down our children's throats. They are programming and conditioning our children to be okay with white supremacy, to believe that they're lucky to be living around white supremacists. We need to stop allowing them to program our children. They are programming our children to believe that white supremacists are their savior on our tax dollars. We're paying them to do this. We're voting them in office to do this. We need to put a stop to white supremacy. We need to wage war against the terrorism that is white supremacy. We owe it to our children. We need to stop allowing them to produce and reproduce brainwashed children, slaves of the mind. That's one of the worst slavery we can be in, because we don't see it. We don't realize it. Only we have the power to break those chains. I want you guys to realize, and make no mistake about this, slavery ended because it was beneficial to white supremacists. White supremacists only do things that benefit them. It was never to free the slaves so that they can live amongst the land with us. That's not what they were thinking. They wanted you out of the country. Ending slavery was in the best interest of white supremacy. The same party that we constantly vote for. They benefited from that. Not black people. Not to say that, we enjoyed being slaves. Obviously, that's not the case, but we need to realize what we're up against, and we need to realize the lies that we are told, and we need to realize that we are constantly being manipulated by white supremacists. We need to show the Democratic Party that their best interest is to support us now. That if they do not support us, they do not get our vote. We need to stop being faithful slaves. We need to end this. We need to end white supremacy. We need to give them a reason to stand up for us, a reason to support our causes. a reason to stop allowing us to be murdered on the streets. Let's send them that message. Let's give them that reason. Give them some incentive. Because they don't have any right now. They don't need to prove anything to you. They don't need to support our causes. We need to show them that they're not going to just get our vote. We are not faithful slaves. We need to bring upon our own freedom and stop waiting for some white supremacist hero, because there aren't any. They don't exist. They're not George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. Those are not our heroes. Thomas Jefferson. Those are terrorists. Terrorists. We are fighting global terrorism. Let's take a step back. Let's look at all we've been through. Let's not be faithful slaves. Faithful slaves to the Democratic Party. They're counting on us to be faithful slaves. Let's not do it. Let's hold our vote. Let's give them some incentive. Let's save our children. Give them freedom. Let them walk through a world free of white supremacy. We have the power to do that. Let's use that power. Please hold your vote. For your children, hold your vote. Thank you.